You're welcome back. It's still the Policy Council, and we're continuing our discussion on the evolution of Nigerian political economy. Professor Ologbonla, we stopped at Babangida and the economic side, the structural adjustment program, the political side, his political transition. How did the Nigeria end up with Abacha?
Well, largely it was, I will not say it's a mistake, but largely it was an unforeseen circumstance. Babangida wanted to compensate the Yorubas, and he thought, well, let us put a Yoruba man there in the form of the interim national government and put Chief Ernest Shonekan there. And he thought he will step aside and that fellow will go in and make the transition to a completion. Unfortunately, the Yorubas, they did not accept it. I mean, demonstrations every day, massive police movement, people lost their lives, and so on and so forth. Abacha was waiting in the wing that Babangida's tenure should not be the last time that military is going to have the opportunity to rule. He wants to also rule.
Indeed, they used to call him the Khalifa, which was meaning the next one.
Yes, and you know, he was the most senior member of the interim government after Ernest Shonekan. Thus, the continuous demonstration throughout the western region and also in some other areas in Bendel or the Edo and so on created an atmosphere of tension. And Abacha saw his own opportunity and he went in there, told Chief Ernest Shonekan to resign, or otherwise there will be problems. And Chief Ernest Shonekan, a gentleman who has been in the world of business for many years and was not struggling for power, he let go. And Abacha came in. There was a final straw. There was a judgment of the Lagos High Court. Yes, that it was an illegal government. I think it was Justice Adesanya.
Yes, I forgot the name.
I think it was Justice Adesanya that gave the verdict that the interim government was an illegal government entity, because it was kind of make a belief between
it had no foundation either in military force
or in the constitution.
Constitutionalism.
So it had to be thrown out, and the court threw it out.
But the Abacha era was a horrible era.
The Abacha era was in 3 stages. The first stage, Abacha wanted to be accepted. So he asked the opposition to send in their list. Even late Abiola also made a mistake of conceding by sending list. And then he appointed ministers and so on and so forth.
And we had people like Jakonde,
Rimi and so on, who we believed were progressives. And, you know, they were drawn in. And those people did not know the mind of Abacha. So they wanted to serve the nation, not Abacha, but they ended up serving Abacha. The second stage was that Abacha got much more annoyed. The more criticism he received, the more annoyed he became.
And Nadeko was
on his case, I mean on his neck, that the mandate must be realized. Abiola must recover his mandate, and so on and so forth. Then the third one was the attempt by Abiola to reclaim his mandate by making that declaration that he is president. According to the law, there can be no 2 presidents in a republic. Abacha is the head of state. You now announce that you are the head of state. You are the person that had the people's mandate. But people argued that the process was not completed. You were never sworn in. That is neither here or there. The 2 gentlemen could not come and reconcile. And unfortunately, Abacha used the hammer. That is chasing all the Nadeko out of town and those he can couch, he put in
Into
jail,
prison.
or elimination,
Eliminated.
from what we hear from Sergeant Rogers and others.
So, and that whole process led to international sanctions, the death of Ken Saro-Wiwa,
yes,
sanctions on the Nigerian economy, and then in June 8, 1998, Abacha dropped dead.
Yes.
We'll take a short break and then we'll go to the process that led to Nigeria's resumption of democracy. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. It's the Policy Council, and I have Professor Ologbenla of the University of Lagos with me. Yes, so Professor, we've seen the consequences of Abacha, but there are more.
Yes, say. Abacha was very shrewd in terms of spending. He saved Nigeria a lot of money. We had plenty in foreign reserves, and he also brought in the BOFIL. You know, this lifting the veil over the owners of banks
in the case of
that were distressed. Yes, the failed banks. And he brought so many people to try that, look, you are the management team, you are the MD, you are the chairman, you are the director, come and account to how your bank was run to the ground.
Okay, so
you know, so that was positive for the economy. And then, you know, Abacha was just, I will say, not exposed to the international community. He did not handle the case of Ken Saro-Wiwa very well, you know. But the appeal by the Pope, the appeal by so many head of states to Abacha,
and the Commonwealth,
yes, the Commonwealth that. And so should have at least tampered justice.
And if he was a pragmatic leader, he would have known that that was his opportunity
to get back to the international community.
International economy.
You know, yes. That, okay, everybody have pleaded for this fellow, he will go to jail for a number of years, you know, rather than death sentence. But, you know, once the sentence was passed, you know, he did not wait for any appeal. That was part of the reason why people were against that. You should have at least allowed the appeal.
Okay. Yes. Let's talk about, there was a short interregnum of General Abdul Salam.
Yes.
Not significant for many reasons. I mean, too short, but was it significant?
Very, very significant. Because Abacha died, Abdul Salami Abubakar was here in Lagos. This man, Mustafa and others quickly sent for him and brought him to Abuja to take over the loyalty of the GOCs. Those are the commanding officer, general officer in command of the cantonments and platoons. And before Jerry Husseini could get back to know what has happened, the loyalty was already to Abdul Salami Abubakar, because Jerry Husseini would have liked to take over, but it was not to be so. Now, Abdul Salami Abubakar did two great things for this country. One, he quickly put into effect the transition to civilian. Two, he made sure that all troublemakers, potential coup plotters, were removed from the Nigerian army. He retired them. But he used our foreign reserves to compensate everybody that was going. Because these people were going before their time, before their retirement age within the army. So he compensated them.
So we had a precipitous decline in our foreign reserves.
Yes.
During his short 9 months.
We had. But we also gained because all potential coup plotters were out of the scene. And you know, once you're out of the army, you have no influence.
They say democracy is expensive.
Yes, democracy is expensive. He paid very well for it. And then organized the election. And the election was a success in the sense that he threw up Olufalaye again and Obasanjo. Now, Obasanjo defeated Olufalaye. Why? Because many northern states were ready to do business with Obasanjo.
Let's take a short break.
Yes.
And then, because the Obasanjo story will take a full segment,
yes,
we'll be right back.
My name is Mike Nzago. I live in Lagos where things are getting better every day.
Our school has just been renovated
And they give us free notebooks too. Going to school is easier and safer for students like me because I can cross the highway using the footbridge, and I use the BRT bus, which is fast, convenient and free for students like me. I enjoy looking at the beautiful streets on my way to school. And the many street signs tell me where exactly I am. When I get to Basic 12, the government will pay the fees for my GCE and NECO examinations. I am happy. My mom and dad says all these good things are happening because they pay their taxes. I hope to pay my taxes when I grow up and start working. Have you paid your tax?
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
You're welcome back to the Policy Council. We're taking a trip through Nigerian political economy, and I have Professor Damian Ologbenla still with me. He's a political economist of the Department of Political Science, University of Lagos. So, we landed at 1999, yes, and former military ruler General Olusegun Obasanjo is president. What's your assessment of his 8 years in power?
Now, during his first term, he studied the scene, but he also behaved like Babangida. He brought in intellectuals, good intellectuals, people of conscience. He also developed projects. You know, he wanted to deal with corruption. He brought in the EFCC,
ICPC.
Now, that 8 years he spent, he could not eradicate corruption. He could not even reduce it to the barest minimum, but he did his best. Now, when it came to the economy, he had good economic policies. One, the Naira, you know, improved gradually. Then, agriculture, you know, he emphasized agriculture improved slightly. But where he failed was power. You remember, he put Chief Bola Ige as Minister for Power at one stage, that go and help me solve this problem. The power situation could not be solved. It's not his fault largely, it's the fault of the, I would say, NEPA engineers and the systemic of importation of all these generators by powerful forces. You know, they have not allowed the power sector to operate effectively. But now, through privatization and so on, there's going to be improvement in that line. Now, what Obasanjo also did...
He transformed telecoms to be...
yes, that's what it was. What Obasanjo also did was the telecommunication was completely transformed. The monopoly of Nitel was broken. And many of us, I must be honest, were very happy with the breaking of the monopoly of Nitel, because the ordinary people could not get access to telephone. It was very expensive and it does not work most of the time. And therefore, it was a plus. The GSM revolution, that was a plus for him. But
the downside of Obasanjo's 8 years seems to have been the quality of elections that he supervised, both in 2003 and 2007. And 2007 was particularly
horrible. Yes, and it's because Obasanjo believed in the PDP. Obasanjo believed that because the PDP have such a widespread geographical spread nationally, it should be the ruling party, and another party should be in opposition.
He always believed in a monopoly of power.
Yes, centralization of power. He believed that the power of this country should be in one political party driving the development of the country, and the other party should be in opposition,
but
complaining and moaning
and marginalized.
But
unfortunately, that PDP that he envisioned as that transformative instrument was a vehicle devoid of ideology or principle.
Yes, this is largely so because Obasanjo was a practical soldier. He did not like ideologues. Although he tried when he was not in government, in the African Forum, that
African leadership.
Leadership from at his Otafam, and all the intellectuals were invited, you know, regularly, and he interacted with us, and we thought we have influenced him for good. But once he gave back to power, he
found that the old soldier farmer.
The old soldier never died.
We'll be right back.
Okay. Hey, welcome my son.
We are given free textbooks in our school today.
Hey, I thank God. Oh. I know with this Lagos State government free education, my son will end up being a lawyer or medical doctor. He can even become an educated automobile engineer. My son tell me, say, their school don't get beautiful building with a better chair and desk, new library, computer for everywhere, laboratory today. My people, all these things our children they enjoy today. Now our tax money do more. They pay my tax.
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
You're welcome back to the final segment of this final interaction with Professor Dele Ologbenla. It's been a fascinating time. You mentioned during the break, Prof, that we overlooked perhaps the most important achievement of the Obasanjo era, the debt right of 2006.
Yes. Obasanjo really helped us by going around the whole world, traveling, and literally cajoling. I will not say begging, cajoling our foreign partners that Nigerian debts need to be forgiven, so that there will be money enough to give people dividends of democracy. And many nations, the Americans, the British, the French, the Germans, all of them agreed, and Nigerian debts were largely forgiven, and we pay back the rest. So we were largely debt-free by the time Obasanjo was leaving office. But the Yar'Adua government and the Jonathan government have gone a borrowing. And, you know, the borrowing has actually been on the increase. You know.
And of course, Obasanjo left significant foreign reserves. Yes.
The significant foreign reserves left behind by Obasanjo is part of the reason why Obi Ezekwesili was asking the Jonathan government, where has all the money gone?
And I have also believed that the large foreign reserves accounted for a relatively mild, or at least
stable,
manageable the impact of the global recession.
Yes, in fact, that is what gives the backing to the Naira and make the Naira relatively okay. Because otherwise we would have been asked to do another devaluation, and that would have been disastrous for the rest of the economy, because it means the value of the Naira does not what the paper is printed on. So the Yar'Adua government and the Jonathan government have taken some of the foreign reserves and distributed it to the states. It's not just them that are spending it. So the state governments are getting some in order to run their services and
mitigate the impact,
mitigate the impacts of a recession that is going on.
Let me take as our last major point of discussion, and we're certainly fast forwarding to today.
Yes.
Boko Haram.
Yes.
Ansarul.
Yes.
Terror, bombing, insecurity.
Yes.
How does this affect Nigeria?
Well, we are in for a long, difficult time with terrorism. International terrorism has been on for a long while now, and it has been hitting other nations, but we have been largely saved. But now we have got our own domestic terrorism that have connection with international terrorism. So Boko Haram is an organization that want to change Nigeria to an Islamic state. That's part of their belief. And to change it to an Islamic state is what it's all about. But they cannot succeed because the north of the country consists of many segments, many minorities who are Christians, who are traditional believers or worshippers, and they cannot be converted by the barrel of the gun. Then the southern part, largely Christians, largely what we call it, progressive, open-minded about religion. Thus, they do not believe in a jihadist kind of religion pursuit or philosophy. So the Boko Haram, as a group, have their own philosophy, and people are just not buying it. And they have now resorted into violence. Before they were attacking military installations, military personnel, and so on. Now they are attacking civilian population. And the dimension of suicide bombing is new to us. But now they are carrying it out on a regular basis. And the economy of the North, we must say, has been devastated by this action of theirs. And the political class in the North is under siege. And that is part of the reason why the Sultan of Sokoto and the head of the Muslim community in Nigeria made suggestion to government that maybe dialogue and amnesty should be offered to them. But the president have replied that, look, how can we give amnesty to faceless, ghostly people who we don't know? And he's right. Until they come out from where they're hiding and said, we are members of Boko Haram, this is our demands. They give us a list of their demands. Then the government will then consider it and send out a team to negotiate with them. But sooner or later, we will have to negotiate with them. The reason is this: the death and destruction in the North, if it spreads to the South, there will be problem. There will be major problem, because the Southerners, they live in towns and cities, and they do their business in towns and cities. And if you start exploding bomb in Port Harcourt, Lagos, Ibadan, you know, Enugu, and so on, and Aba, it will be terrible. And we don't know how the people in the South are going to react. You understand?
Yes.
And we don't want a divided Nigeria. We want Nigeria to be one, unified, economically, politically, culturally, ideologically. These people have to be handled with care.
On that sober note, Professor Ologbenla, thank you very much for your time on the Policy Council.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. We've just had a fascinating but sobering tour of Nigeria's political economy. Some things stand out. The colonial structure of our economy and the dependency it has fostered, which we've been able to break. Immature political competition that results in cycles of crisis. Corruption resulting from the conjunction of oil, unaccountable governments, unaccountable bureaucracies, and irresponsible politicians. Now the threat of insecurity and the danger, the mortal danger it offers to the Nigerian state. You must understand the past in order to improve the future. And Nigerian leaders and Nigerian citizens must study and understand their history, both in politics and in economics. I hope the Policy Council has done some favors to the audience in this regard. See you next time.